Up next, we have Doug Schmore to introduce today's speaker. Come on up, Doug.
I'm going to keep this short because I want to hear from the speaker. He is the district Medford unit forester for the Oregon Forestry Department. I asked him how long he'd been at it, and he said 23 fire seasons. And we're just about to start a new fire season. We were lucky we called just in time to get them because they said, well, we can do the one in May, but after that, we can't do any of the dates you gave me. So we're lucky to have him here today. His name is Lee Winslow, and he'll be talking on the Wildland Fire Program and what it is that the Oregon Forestry Department did last year and what we might have coming for the year to come. With that, I'll turn it over to Lee.
Good afternoon. Just a little self depredation here is no one got into forestry or firefighting because they want to talk behind a podium to a bunch of community leadership. So a little bit of grace would be much appreciated. I want to thank y'all for the impact Rotary has on our community. It's a big deal what y'all do. And thank you for that. I want to thank you for the opportunity to come and share a little bit about Oregon Department of Forestry, who we are and what we do for you. And then I want to thank you for the warm welcome and the meal. That was outstanding. So as mentioned, Lee Winslow, Medford Unit Forester. I'm responsible for your wildland fire protection here in Jackson County. That's 1.2 million acres of private and BLM lands here in the county. Who we are, we serve as Oregon's Wildfire Protection Agency. Southwest Oregon District, where I work, is one of 14 districts around the state. We declare fire season in each district annually. Fire season will start Sunday, June 1st. A number of years ago, we went to that June 1st deadline, and for sure this year, we're certainly in fuels conditions that would warrant fire season being called on Sunday. And so on Sunday, that means you'll start having some actions regulated, what you can and can't do on your forested properties. Like I mentioned, we protect private BLM lands. The entire district, which is made up of Jackson and Josephine counties, is 1.8 million acres. That's a lot of ground to cover. I can attest to that. So fire season overview last year, fire season went into effect. Public restrictions, which I mentioned, when you can and can't cut your lawn, when you can have campfires, etc. IFPL, that's industrial fire precaution levels. That's how we regulate forest operations such as timber and forest harvest operations, road building, and even things like commercial cutting, well drilling, anything that has the potential of starting the wildland on fire, we regulate through the IFPL process. You can see last year we ended fire season October 27th, 2004. That's pretty average for us. It's about 5 months. Is a real bear here in Southern Oregon. We started industrial burning restrictions lifted in November 2nd. What that means is a lot of the slash piles and thinning piles that you see on the hillsides around us, we authorize the burning of those in November as we go into a wet season for a number of months. If we were to allow that in the spring, those industrial slash piles have a tendency to hold over and reignite, rekindle again. I've seen them up to 5 months post ignition happen here in Southern Oregon. Last year we had 148 days. Our average in the last 3 years is about 140 days in fire season. This is a picture of the Upper Applegate fire. Our PIO, Natalie Weber, want to give her credit for this great slideshow. You guys will remember the Upper Applegate fire happened just about 3 weeks from today, last year, June 20th. So this is rainfall totals. I was going to put this in here to basically tell the tale of what an average fire season looks like, and then highlight a little bit about what we can expect this year. In Medford, we average around 18 inches of precipitation over the course of the water year. Last year, we had just under 17 and a half. So 94% average, not bad. This year, we're about 20% over average. We're pushing over 20 inches this year, which is great. The amount of rain really comes into play with reservoirs, creeks, lakes being filled, and we're lucky. I've seen more lakes and reservoirs filled in Southern Oregon this year than I have in the past, 5 or 10 years. So that's a great thing. The one anomaly between this year and last year, moisture, timing, and fuels, like especially grass. Grass is what drives most of our fires here in Southern Oregon, especially in and around the WUI interface. Last year, the grass in many areas of the upland was a good 3.5, 4 feet tall. And it was that late spring rain. We kept having moisture and a little bit cooler temperatures into the spring. This year, it differs because we've had a really hot May, hotter than average, and the moisture that we got was before that. So we've got a thick grass, and who'd have thought I'd be talking to grass to the Rotary Club members, but my apologies. It is my world. But we've got a thick grass. It's just not as tall. And that's because we had that real heat up in, I guess that would have been like April-ish. And so that's a good thing for us. I'm super grateful. Grants Pass, again, they were 75% of average on moisture last year. You can see they average well over about 12 or 13 more inches of rain just in that 30 miles between here. Jackson County very much gets a rain shadow effect off of the Coast Range and the Siskiyou Mountains. So drought monitor, this is May 2024. The May 2025 one looks exactly like this, pretty much. More drought in the Southwest, your Arizona, New Mexico, Texas. But as far as Oregon is concerned, very much like this. And you can see how it progresses into abnormally dry and moderate drought by the time we get to early July. And this is a seasonal occurrence every year. This year is going to be much the same. And then we didn't get any area of extreme drought in Oregon last year, which was, again, one of the first years in the last decade or so I've seen that. Super grateful for that. There's a good chance we will get to that again this year. Talking to the Weather Service, they expect much the same kind of average or slightly above average temperatures. And anyone knows the average rainfall in the months of June, July, August, and September is like 0, unless it comes in a thunderstorm, which brings its own problems. But I think that's one of the takeaways for this year is much the same. So I think you could expect it. Last year in Central and Eastern Oregon, they had the most destructive wildfire season in Oregon history. We were largely guarded against that for a number of reasons. One other thing I'd point out is, as you can see, kind of the Four Corners area of Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, down there, they're expecting an abnormally active monsoon season. What that does for us is it pools moisture up here, and we will tend to have more lightning in years that we have monsoonal moisture set up in the Four Corner region in July. So that's something we're watching closely. We'll be ready for it if it does come, but lightning really dictates how our fire season goes. So any typical year, as mentioned, around 140, 150 years in fire season, we spent a quarter of our time in low fire danger. That just means you can't be burning debris in your backyard. In moderate, we start regulating your operation of machinery and equipment, shuts off at 1 o'clock, and no campfires in moderate either. In high, it's a 10 o'clock shutdown for any like mowing of dry grass is the common one. And in extreme, it's no activities and fuels. And you can see we spent a good 60, almost 70% of our fire season any typical year in the higher extreme category. And Southern Oregon very much has California fuels and a population and a lot of Eastern Oregon-esque lightning that comes through here. So a very, very active place to do what I do. In fact, I think in the last 10 years, it's been 1/3 of Oregon's fires on ODF protected lands have started in Jackson or Josephine counties. Most of those are human starts, but a good third of those average lightning. So typical year, like last year, we had 250 statistical fires. Just think of that as a fire like you see here today on the screen. This is another view of the Upper Applegate fire in late June. 10 stat fires, that's where we're helping our neighbors like CAL FIRE or the fire districts inside the city of Medford, Central Point, outside of ODF protected lands, largely in city limits, or with the Forest Service when we are mutual aid in a fire with them. Those are all non-stat fires. The NFCA is no fire crew action. A lot of that's enforcement on regulated use, or it's following up on smoke someone called into 911 and it turns out to be, someone, blowing their driveway that's gravel and they saw dust, or a sprinkler, or it oftentimes is something that we don't need to take action on, like a really good afternoon barbecue. Our annual stats. So the first ones there, that's our fire season, June 1st to the end of October. That's what we get done for y'all in about a 5-month period. You can see we end up having another 20 to 40 fires and fire calls outside of fire season. That's when the skeleton crew like myself get out and do stuff. So let's see, 2024 fires, ODF protection in statute. One of our key benchmarks is to have 98% of fires caught at 10 acres or less. And we are pretty successful at that. The way we are, like, that's our service level. That's what you can expect. That's what we're geared up for during the heart of fire season. Last year we got to 97%. So, not quite there. But you can see the statewide average hovers around the low 90s, 92, 93%. And more often than not, we're right in that 97 to 98% for our protection goal. Last year, very average. You can see on human starts, we were up about 20% with 222 human caused fires. And those are all preventable in one way, shape, form, or another. Lightning caused fires, we were down about 75%. That was a real grace that we had last year with the dry summer. We average, our 10-year average is 12,500 acres burned. That's a lot of ground. Last year, we held it to 5,400 acres. Most of that was here in Jackson County, I'm not proud to say. But we got some really bad fire conditions early in the summer. The big years when we have the 100,000 acre fires are what skew that number so far on the average. More years than not, we're going to be below that. Another view of air tanker drop June 20th last year on the Upper Applegate fire. This is a notable fire, and this is what you can expect. This is a type 3 fire. We're geared up to handle this in-house with just some help from our neighbors. It was reported we had 2 fires start the same afternoon, June 20th at 3:15. Extremely windy that day, gusts to 25 miles an hour. This one actually started at the base of the hill on private property, got wind and slope alignment, and it took off, and it went to about 1,000 acres that first night. And we caught it, which means when I say caught, we got containment lines around it, still very active on the inside, but we had it wrapped with containment lines, a combination of dozer and hand lines at 1,142 acres. We handled this largely with Southwest Oregon District employees while maintaining our training for our seasonal firefighters, which is fire school, which we're in right now. Kind of one of the downsides of working for the Oregon Department of Forestry is the bulk of our workforce, like 80% of it is seasonal. And so one of the big hurdles I have is to get 18 to 25-year-olds to do this work for 5 months, train them up, gear them up, lead them, and then send them back to school the next year and likely never see them again. And so that's just a common problem we've got in the Wildland Fire Service. This had multiple evacuations, 1, 2, and 3. Let's see. This one started the same afternoon, 75 acres, just outside of Shady Cove, in the Oban Chain fire scar. That tall grass I mentioned last year, that 4-foot tall grass, all over that Oban Chain fire scar, quickly took this. Luckily, Croman, one of our local helicopter operators here in the Valley, was available. A lot of times they're out of the area for the bulk of the fire season, but they were here early and helped us catch both those fires, both these human starts. And both of them tied to not following regulated use violations. So we will seek cost recovery for those. That's one thing that we do that's slightly different than many fire services. So during Salt Creek, let's see. I think I might have pushed this button a little too many times. I apologize. Salt Creek Fire. This started July 7th. By July 7th, we were setting records for early July as far as fuels conditions that were more similar to late August in that heat dome kind of thing we've started to hear about a little bit. Short-term kind of extreme heat and wind events. This started on BLM lands, 4 miles up Salt Creek Road, grew quickly, as mentioned. Record-breaking heat wave. Oregon Department of Forestry, we have 3 Type 1 incident management teams that go around the nation and manage complex incidents. We have that. They're made up of just regular Joes like me from all over the state that come together and solve complex incident management team issues. We brought one in. The beauty of that is we were busy with initial attack on this fire. It was 1,500 acres by the time the sun went down on day 1. And we had that incident management team that was mobilized. They took command of that fire mid-afternoon the next day. That's unheard of in many places in the nation, and a testament to the organization we have behind us. Largely had this about 2/3 contained by the time the team came. But there's a lot of work that goes into that, a good 2 or 3 weeks of just mop up to get that done. So all the same time, this is why we bring a team in. Anyone that's been in the wild and scenic portion of the Rogue River, that's our responsibility. You can imagine what fighting fire down there looks like in July and August. It's rough. That's some of the roughest country in the nation to fight fire in. And we brought the team in, helps us to pivot back and focus on initial attack. A good example is this during Salt Creek, where we had 26 other fires that we responded to while that team was handling the large incident on Salt Creek. I think I'm just going to blow past that because I want to leave plenty of questions. As mentioned, we didn't get near the lightning we had last year. As a typical year, we average around 60. Last year, we had about 20. And so law of averages is we might catch up to that this year. Many of you may remember the I-5 fire just south of, Ashland there, mile marker 15, roadside, burning right towards the town of Ashland under wind and extreme fire conditions on September 4th. That's almost peak dryness for us. And with Fire District 5, which, in the Rogue Valley, your fire departments and ODF, Forest Service, it's amazing what we get for our fire department response in wildland, whether it's ODF or it's structure fire departments, and how we're coming together and attacking these things in initial attack, cooperatively working together. Like, we are getting our money's worth down here out of both the fire departments and ODF for these efforts. 0 homes lost, caught at 11 acres. I think that's a slide where I'm supposed to talk about ODF resources, what y'all get for your money. Customer service is what I want to provide for y'all. Folks that own forest land in Jackson County pay almost $4 an acre for the services we provide. And one of the neat things about ODF is, as a landowner, you never pay more than it costs for us to fight fire the year before. So it's a rolling. If we have good years, that forest patrol assessment you'll see on your property taxes go down. It's been a while since we've had good years. Wildland fire, I'll be honest. Things are getting more expensive, but it is a great, just, cost of business proposition. And I like that. In 2024, same as 2025, what you get for that is daily. I have 15 engines staffed and scattered across the county like quail, ready to initial attack. We average about a 10-minute response time from the time we hear of a fire to when we're on scene attacking it. And that's pretty good for how much ground we have to cover. We have the 15 engines. Those are really nimble Type 6 engines, 400 gallons, 4-wheel drive, very short cab axle ratios, and we can get in a lot of tight places, which is what's needed these days in the forest land. We have a dozer staffed 7 days a week. We have water tender, 3,000 gallons. We have a 10-person hand crew 7 days a week. We have 2 helicopters sitting at Medford. If you ever go north of Vilas on Table Rock, you'll see our headquarters right there. The log building that's been there since the 30s. We're kind of augured in. We'll have 2 helicopters there. One's a medium lift, which is a Huey helicopter, carries about 350 gallons of water, can start up and be out of the chocks in 3 to 5 minutes. The other's a MD 900, which has a 6-person heli-tac crew. Those are firefighters. They can get delivered, instantly go to work, hook up a bucket, and start suppressing the fire with a 250-gallon bucket as well. We have, I think you'll actually see some pictures of our aircraft. I think that's about it. We have 3 fire managers, myself, a dispatch center. We have our dispatch is open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. and we have fire engines responding during that period throughout. So access to hand crews, the interagency cooperative agreements across all states in the national U.S. Forest Service, et cetera. So you get a lot in detection. You may remember the days of mountaintop lookouts. Those have transitioned to more of an automated camera system. Whereas we used to have 4 lookouts in Jackson County. We now have 17 cameras. So we can operate, a much larger scale, see more ground, and a live stream into a detection center that can instantly give us size up information, lat and longs, and we can make some management decisions on a initial attack there. They found 60 fires before anyone else did, and that's pretty good in an area with our population of Jackson, Josephine County. Secondary detections, that's someone called 911, reported a fire, and then we're able to confirm it. What that helps us do is keep our firefighters, evenly spread around and in a good position to attack a fire, and not send our resources into that barbecue that I mentioned before, sending 5 engines and a hand crew and a helicopter. That doesn't make good sense. But 238 total reports, a fantastic investment, and super grateful for that. Air attack, I didn't mention this. We have an air attack. That's a fixed wing Cessna 206 that we staff 7 days a week, and that's the air traffic controller over these incidents. They're working directly for firefighters on the ground and working with the helicopters and air tankers to get basically a coordinated effort to suppress those fires. Without that air attack, our finding fires, getting them put out with the aviation assets in coordination with the ground would be tough. Last year, we had 36 air attack missions here in the district. That's the medium lift helicopter I mentioned, 350 gallons. That's our heli-tac helicopter I mentioned, 6 firefighters, 220 gallons. Severity helicopters, this is part part of the general fund for the state of Oregon pays for pre-positioned statewide assets. The one at the top sits in Grants Pass. The one at the bottom sits at Ashland Airport. That's a new development for last year. The one in the bottom, we will be doing night vision helicopter suppression with. Not this year, but likely in 2026. We're working towards that goal of having an asset, because when the sun goes down, the aircraft have to land as of now. But with advancements in technology, that's something we're really excited about. And to have that in our backyard, even if it does go away on fires elsewhere in the state, it really helps us be successful here. This just kind of shows you we get resources from Alaska, Florida, statewide compacts. I'm sending folks to Minnesota tomorrow. We've got folks going to Alaska to help them. We trade resources, state employees back and forth. Let's see, this fire season, too many factors are involved when it comes to large fire. Everyone's heard the kind of canned statement of we'll tell you how fire season went in November. And, you know, there's a lot to that. I think we're going to see average or above average. We're certainly drier today in the 10-hour fuels, which are, you know, twigs and branches about the size of your finger, and 100-hour fuels. They're a good 2 or 3 weeks ahead of average. They say that the rains this fall are going to come sooner than normal. And whether that's late September or mid-October, I don't know, but I'll sure be glad when they do show up. You know, we can't predict heat waves, thunderstorms, seasonal rain totals. No weather service person would say they can predict thunderstorms until we start to see some triggers showing up atmospherically, which is like 3 days ahead, maybe 5 days ahead. But, you know, like the bottom of that slide says, you know, we can prepare for wildfires. You know, we have a robust fuels reduction side of what we do, meeting with landowners, showing them how to make their home fire safe, fire hardened, and getting out and being proactive, and then following the regulated use, you know, violations or correction, regulated use regulations we put in place starting June 1 is for everyone's best interest. That's for sure. The bottom of the slide, we're done with our seasonal firefighting hiring for the year, but we are gearing up and training. We'll be training for the remainder of June, and then we'll be scattered like quail out to the hills. And we're so thankful that we get to work for fine folks like y'all. So appreciate, again, what you guys do. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Lee. I'm sure we have questions. Yep, I see some hands going up. We can do this. There we go.
Great presentation. I just want to shout out to Natalie. You know, I think the spots that you guys are doing and having her, I mean, I've known her for many years, but she's doing such a great job. So please take that back to her. Makes all the difference. I'm wondering about your perspective on the rural interface issues that we're, you know, seeing around the country, and particularly here in Oregon. How you're attacking that in terms of, I mean, obviously education is key, but there are things that we can't control as we're encroaching on forest land.
Yeah, all great, insightful questions. I will certainly pass along the appreciation for Natalie, and I'll echo it. You know, having a PIO to keep me from having to be here and do things like this is that what we have her for. But anyway, she is an absolute pro. So to address the WUI question, you know, the human start numbers are going up. And we've got 5 years or 5 months a year, maybe more, where the fuels are receptive to folks being careless. Our main way we combat that is through regulated use. You know, limiting what people can do in, you know, especially if you live in that rural interface. You know, folks are very much in Oregon, right? We love our private property rights, and we like being able to do what we want, but just following those is a way that we combat that. And we have slowly updated statutes to kind of catch up with new technology, like, you know, chainsaws. We're starting a lot of fires let's say 40 years ago. Chainsaws aren't our main starters anymore. And they're starting to come out with the electric stuff, weed eaters, chainsaws, things like that, where you can actually still get work done and be in alignment with the fire season regulations. I think Southern Oregon had 6 or 7 of the top 10 worst fuels and WUI interface in the state of Oregon. So we leverage lots of state money to get national money, and we bring that out to landowners like that live here in Southern Oregon for fuels reduction. Will help them come out either with our hand crews and stuff that work in the winter. We'll do the work around their homes at no cost, especially for at risk or folks that are unable to do it themselves, elderly, et cetera. So we're leveraging more and more opportunities to get funding down to that. I think another key component of that is land use planning. What the county, and that's not our jurisdiction, right? We can put influence on, hey, if you're going to build a house here, these are some of the standards for that defensible space zone around there and the access route to it. But land use planning definitely plays a key role as well. And so I hope that answers your question. Yeah.
All right. I just want to say thank you. And I don't know if Lynn Penyon's here or not, but she lives below that Upper Applegate fire. And so it does have an immediate impact to us in the Applegate. And, what you guys have done is tremendous. And I just want to say thank you.
I appreciate that. I'll pass that along too.
Thanks very much. Kind of just get your thoughts. Fireworks always seems to be a contentious issue. I had lots of discussions with the county commissioners. They don't seem to be interested in banning fireworks in Jackson County. Any thoughts on that? Could you share with us? And how do you feel on July 4th? How's the crew
I'm
feeling?
anxious.
Huh?
I am extremely anxious on July 4th for sure. There are plenty of locations in the county that you can have fireworks safely. And I support that. On the ODF protected lands is not that place where it's grass fuels and you're outside of where we may have the support of structure fire departments as well is tough. About half of the district we protect is Bureau of Land Management, federal lands. We do the initial attack on the BLM lands here, and they have their own set of rules. And if you've seen ONC lands, it's every other square mile in Jackson, Josephine County. So having one regulatory kind of line in the sand there, if you will, to keep them out of ODF protected lands makes a lot of sense to me. We get plenty of people that don't abide by those anyway, and we have our hands full with that every year. Last year, it was the memorial fire up Highway 66. If you've ever driven 66, it's nothing but grass from the city of Ashland to the top of the Cascade Crest. And someone decided to launch one off the side of the road, and it caught that hillside on fire. And luckily, we got it at about 60 or 70 acres that night. And luckily, it had started after dark when the fuels condition humidities were up. But yeah, I think I love fireworks. My kids love fireworks. Like, I want to have that as part of the community. Just do it in a place where it's safe.
I'm the kind of guy who, because we live out there, if you see something, call it in. And it's not a fire. It is unsafe activity. A guy trying, mowing in the middle of, because I know that's what happened in Upper Applegate, but somebody mowing in the middle of Medford, there was one. I called it in, and they go out and they'll talk to them, because if we don't, they're not educated, and either they're not educated or they're just ignoring it. But that's how we can stop that. The same thing with fireworks, right? I mean, if I understand it right, they're illegal to fire anytime other than July 4th, but they go off in my in the neighborhood.
Yeah, they are legal during fire season, declared fire season. So starting Sunday on ODF protected lands, they'll be not not allowed. And I think to your point, a lot of what we do, like I mentioned, 1,000 to 1,500 calls for service is those prevention, following up with landowners. We want to educate them. We have a law enforcement side of what we do. We always want to go to that, education engineering before we get to the enforcement side. And so thankful for that. And just I can remember my dad, who was a Rotary member in North Carolina, used to say, ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And I definitely agree with that when it comes to fire protection.
Thank you so much. Lee, don't go away. Lee, stay here. Thank you so much for that very interesting presentation. And as a thank you for being our speaker today, we are going to donate this book in your name to our Smart Reader program. Today's book is Farm Fleet, La Flota Agricola, bilingual. So if you would please sign the inside of this cover, then we'll get it into the hands of a smart reader. So thank you so much. Thank you everyone for being here. Next week, we will have a presentation from the Southern Oregon ESD Career Center. So make sure to be back here same time next week. If there's nothing else for the good of the order, nope, go out and share the magic of Rotary. We are adjourned.